Hello and welcome to take 7 of MaMa LiveTalks. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you and your family and your circle of friends are safe and well during this crazy time. MaMa LiveTalks are weekly conversations with artists and activists and thought leaders about the COVID-19 situation. And usually Ryan Leach is here to host these, but I mentioned in a MaMa staff meeting that I wanted to check in with some of our fellow theaters and see what they're doing, how they're doing, and what their plans are for the future. And being the MaMa way, they said, yeah, do it. You should host that one. So here I am. And I'm so happy to say that with us tonight, we have Theresa Buchheister, who is the artistic director of The Brick. We have Meghan Finn, who is the artistic director of the Tank in Manhattan here. And we have Moe Yousuf, who is the associate artistic director of Target Margin Theater. And I just want to thank all of them for being here. I'd also like to thank quickly our donors and our funders at MaMa who make all this possible. And if you have the means, you can text MaMa Live to 44321 and make a donation that way, or just on our website. So again, thank you everybody for being here. Friendly faces. I'm a little bit nervous doing this tonight. I thought maybe we could just go around the room and around the Zoom and just say how we're doing personally. How are you holding up? I thought maybe we could start with Theresa.
Oh boy. Hi, it's fun to be in a room with friends, that's for sure. Personally, I'm fine because I'm healthy, but every day is different. And yeah, it's definitely hard being a person with depression and all of my coping mechanisms are no longer available to me. But outside of that, you know, there are a lot of things that I enjoy right now. And a lot of things that I miss.
I hear you. Meghan, what about you? How you doing?
I'm okay. It's been a day-to-day kind of hustle. I have kids, so they're around all the time. And also we've been kind of in crazy triage mode since the theater's closed. Personally, I'm trying to get outside once a day. And yeah, I think I get a lot of energy from people, which is why I'm in theater. And so that's a hard thing. Just the like not having a lot of that in the day-to-day has been a loss, but you know, we're just taking it one day at a time.
Yeah, I hear you. How about you, Mo? How's it going?
Yeah, I think okay is kind of sums it up. Kind of like many microclimates. You know, it reminds me of a time I was going to summit Mount Picamous in the Catskills, and it was 60 degrees, but then a snowstorm happened, and I was like, "What is happening?" That's sort of how my emotions are going right now. Yeah, but I'm okay. I'm healthy. I should say healthy, and I think being healthy changes a lot. My perspective.
Right, for sure. I mean, we're healthy. We have places to live. We still have work that we're doing, which is not a good thing. So I want to move on and see what are your theaters up to right now? Meghan, do you want to start with that?
Sure. So we closed on March 13th, as most theaters in New York did. And on March 17th, we launched Cybertank, which started out as just an online space for our community of artists to come and respond to the moment of what was happening. It started out as a free streaming gathering every Tuesday at 4 p.m., which is still happening every Tuesday, which is free for anyone to watch. And then kind of quickly, because we work with a lot of emerging artists, and I'm sure Moe and Theresa are in a similar space, who are very adept at creating and accessing online content, we had more and more of our regular series and artists coming to us and saying, hey, well, why don't we do this virtually? We have we work with 2,500 artists a year in over 1,000 performances a year. So we had no shortage of people that were interested in putting things together. So right now we have about 12 different shows streaming every week. We have open mic poetry, we have comedy happening. There's a cabaret series that's happening monthly. We have a new puppet series, Puppet Spread, which is a puppet slam that's starting next week. And so, yeah, that's been kind of the thrust of what we've been doing, is just try to fulfill our mission by kind of jumping into that. And I think for organizations that are a little smaller like us, it's a little, it's kind of a little less daunting and maybe a little easier for people to get their heads around more quickly. So we're fortunate. I think the tank is doing okay. We're working, my partner and I, my managing producer, Danielle King, who started less than a year ago, has been amazing. The two of us have just kind of been hustling every day to seize every opportunity we can to keep the tank going. So I'm optimistic, even looking at the summer and the timeline that Broadway being closed throughout the year or throughout the summer, what that means. But anyway, so I'm hopefully optimistic about the tank.
Right. And Meghan, the cyber tank stuff that you're doing, is that live or are they taped, or is it a combination?
It's a combination. We're doing some live programming, a lot of live programming, but we're also doing kind of series, like we have our Fast and Furious series, which are rapid response to current events. So those are, the artist will submit things they generated within 24 hours that are pre-recorded, and then we'll have a live host that's screening those. Then we're also doing something called digital highlights, where if there are tank shows that happened in the last year, we're featuring those, and you can find those. Just all of this is on. You can access through our website, thetanknyc.org. And so those digital highlights are like shows that have occurred at the tank that we have like high quality streamable footage of. So those things we're doing those, a new one every week.
Cool. And let's go to Theresa next. Theresa, what is the Brick doing these days?
Well, we are similarly doing some things to keep community active and engaged, and also creating and thinking creatively. So we're doing a weekly live stream show that's co-curated with me, Lauren Miller, and Jess Almazy. And it's very similar to the salon that I did for 4 years every month, but weekly is like a whole new thing. But it's all different artists of different practices and activists, and anyone who has the desire to share something and engage with an audience. And so it's a new host every week, and usually 5 to 10 artists every Sunday, called Out of an Abundance of Caution, and it's on Twitch. And then every Thursday, we're doing a Brick archival series in partnership with John Birkland, who his production company, Zani, is the only reason that Title Point started documenting things properly several years ago, because before it was just a mess of like me not knowing how to use cameras and all of them like burning from the inside and destroying all the footage, or like, you know, dating someone who's like, yeah, I'll film it for you, and then you break up, and then it's like, can I get that footage?
Classic. That's classic.
So John really just sort of turned that around for us, and he's brilliant at filming live performance, and so it's like it's beautiful to watch. His edit is always, it just blows my mind right out of my head. So so that's been cool, and it's fun to be able to share these things with people all over the world too. Like this past December, Sleeping Car Porters was the show Title Point did, and it's the only show of mine my brother didn't get to see in my entire life. And so he was able to see it, and I was just like, oh, he had notes, but you know, whatever. And then we're also doing Sound Lab, which is a thing that we were going to do before, and is sort of like, yeah, we can totally do a residency where playwrights are writing fiction podcasts, because that works right now. So that's me and my oldest and dearest friend, Harrison David Rivers, who's an incredible playwright, and I work in voiceover. So we were sort of like, let's work with playwrights to do this. So we're meeting and working with those folks, and we'll have the fruits of those labors later this year. And then we're mostly just figuring out how to try to not close without yeah, we'll probably get into all this later, but that's been a big thing right now, is like, we don't have money. I also have Vital Joint. We have nothing saved up. I took over January 1st. And I inherited debt. You know, I didn't inherit like there was no development team on the board until I started one in January. So it's a little, it's scary. So that's a lot of my headspace and time space and lack of sleep and all of that.
I mean, it's crazy. I almost feel like we're busier now than we were before we got shut down. And I think part of it is that a lot of us, me included, are learning new skills. We weren't broadcasting 8 weeks ago, 9 weeks ago, and now all of a sudden we're in the broadcasting business. I mean, MaMa is doing 4 to 5 nights a week of original programming, different each night, and it's a lot, but it's exciting. I'm happy that we have something to do, actually. Everybody can't believe that I'm working so hard and I work in the theater. I'm like, what are you doing? There's nothing to do. I'm like, oh, there's plenty to do. Mo, what are you and Target Margin and David Herskowitz up to?
I just want to say I feel that so much, John. I feel like I've said recently, like, I feel like I'm wasting a pandemic. I'm just working right through that thing, you know. I need to take a step back, go find a pool or something, kiddie pool somewhere, 6 feet away from everyone. But busy, yeah, in different ways. I feel like Meghan and Theresa, the Tank and the Brick respectively, probably put Target Margin to shame in terms of their sophistication in the digital realm. We're not, I think immediately David and I looked at each other and we're like, we're not doing that. we're gonna do that. Yeah, I don't know.
I feel weird constantly unmuting myself to laugh, but I'm just gonna keep doing it. So you're not alone. Okay.
No, it's good. Thank you, Meghan. I miss everyone's laughs. We don't hear anyone laugh anymore, do we? I don't know.
I make myself laugh all the time.
So we haven't done anything. We haven't done anything in the digital sphere in that way. I mean, I've been tracking all of the stuff at the Tank and Theresa's Out of Abundance of Caution, and and I've heard, and I haven't actually seen the Out of Abundance of Caution, but it's like, I'm excited to. I've heard so many great things. And also I wanted to say, Meghan, you like penned a letter. It was like a Facebook post right at the beginning of this thing. And it really was it was amazing. And I read it with the TMT staff, and I think it was published after it or something like that. But it was like one of the things where I was like this feeling I want to hold on to and carry through. And it was pretty inspiring.
Thanks.
And yeah, no, it was, yeah, I hope everyone can find it, or maybe we can share it with them. But so what we've been doing has been a little bit more like localized, I guess, in our own sort of way, which is like we've all been healthy, which is good. And the first thing we started to do was just to reach out. We were doing these listening sessions, is what we've called them. And they were with the various people in Sunset Park, which is where our theater is, through partnerships with local organizations, from like health organizations and all community-based organizations in the neighborhood. And so we wanted to reach out to our artist community immediately. So following that week, since I guess it's the week of March 16th, we've spoken to like over 50 different target margin community artists, and have asked a bunch of questions just about how people are doing, what they need, what they want target margin to do or think we can do to help. How can we reimagine what this is together? And that has been energizing and exciting. Has been a way for us to sort of keep the community together. And then we've been working with our local mutual aid group, the South Brooklyn Mutual Aid, and we've turned the theater into a food distribution site as of 2 weeks ago, which has been really great. We're like, it's just the best thing ever. Yeah. And Whitney Hugh, who is the one of the organizers of that, is been an incredible person. And again, sort of like another inspiration being in the space. And we just volunteer our time there to help do that a couple times a week with them, which is nice. It's more than nice. But and then we started this. I don't know if we're doing.
You've been going around with the masks, right? You've been talking about. When I got that e-blast, I was like, yes. It was like Moe and David are gonna ride their bike with masks. I love it.
We distributed, so we finally are like, we're bringing it down. We've done 200 and I don't know, 10, 15 mask deliveries, and we've donated over 100 and some masks to another local organization in Sunset Park for undocumented workers and essential workers who, don't qualify for stimulus checks or any kind of like government assistance and things like that. And so and we were working with like 3 awesome designers, Dina El-Aziz and Normandy Sherwood and Asta Benny Hostetter. And so we called it a performative action. I mean, also people were like, yeah, it's just an excuse to ride your bike. And it was great. But we also did think of it as a kind of performance in a way, like physically doing these things. And the conversations we had along the way were amazing. They were in this sort of way of building community and getting to meet people where they are, and try to like understand this moment a little bit better. That's what we've been up to.
The mask thing is amazing. I was watching it too. I got those emails, and it's just amazing. I should mention that if you're watching on Facebook, you can comment in the comment section if you have any questions. You just want to say hi and say that you're here, or tell us where you're watching from. I'm kind of looking at them when I'm not talking. David, Moe, was there any time with David where you thought about streaming some of the old programmings? Because I know that David has most of the shows videotaped, if not all.
Yeah, we have everything. We don't have it all in a digital form, but we have a ton of stuff. I would say for like a half a second, we thought about it. And then it was like in that sort of like, oh, we could, fuck it. I mean, there's that. I mean, I think, but part of it, I think, is sort of a holdout of the live thing. I talk about this a lot before this, like, oh, the documentation sucks. Like, we need to rethink work samples. We need to rethink how we're sharing work and doing it. Like, the whole system is fucked up. And then suddenly I was like, David, we could like take an archive and show it. And so it was like, well, what does that even mean? for us, and I get the value of it totally. It was just in that moment we were like, oh, let's just not, because we also just don't have the again, we're not as sophisticated, I think. You've seen our work. We keep it low, we keep it simple. No, but more handmade, and we very rarely go into, complicated digital stuff. So.
Right. So I'm thinking about what you're thinking about, like what are you worried about for your theaters? What's on your mind? I know, Meghan, you probably want to talk about the gala that you're having, which sounds like super cool. It got me to buy a ticket, actually. Let's start with that then, maybe, Meghan. Was there a gala planned at this time, and did this virtual gala take the place of that?
Yes, so we did have a gala planned on May 19th, which is this Tuesday. We are honoring Mara Isaacs, who's a really incredible producer. And also we're giving an award to Laura Gomez, who's a wonderful actor, who you may have seen on Orange is the New Black. She's really incredible. And so we had these plans. We had a lot of big plans for our big gala. And we also need to do our gala because we need to raise. This is not a time where we could cancel our fundraiser. But then I kind of had an inspired idea because we have this wonderful chef, Jen De La Vega, who's catered our gala for the last 5 years, and also is on our board, and also does live streams of her own cooking stuff, and has a really incredible blog. And I had this idea to say, like, well, what if we did a cook along? So ticket buyers would get the ingredients delivered to them and wine delivered to them, and then we'd all cook together and eat together while we watched a bunch of wonderful performances and still honored our honorees. And so it's kind of been just actually really exciting, and it's and it's going okay. Like, we're doing the thing, but it's a whole different animal, So I'm learning, I have a friend who's a Japanese TV director. She works for NHK, and so I met with her and said, like, what are all the things I have to think about, because I don't know what I'm doing. But I think it's going to be okay. And we also have a really great company, Iris Media Works, who's helping us with a live stream. And so.
Meghan, are you expecting to make the same money you would have made in a physical gala?
I mean, I think we are going to make I don't know if we'll make the high end of our goal, but I think we'll make our goal.
That's awesome.
Optimistic.
That's
so
really awesome.
Yeah, because we don't have the restrictions of seats and tables. We could sell more. We just had to get the stuff to the people and safely. And so it's allowed us. I mean, I have people who've wanted to come to something at the Tank for years, friends that live across the country. We have people as far as Los Angeles and joining and cooking along. So it's gonna be fun. I think it's actually gonna be fun. Actually, when those galas are sort of fun.
Okay.
I mean,
Not a lot of galas.
Most people, I think people might have more fun because they'll get to really relax, in their house and sit on their sofa.
Right. Theresa, you brought up the worries that you have about the brick, and I wonder if you want to talk a little bit more about that.
Sure.
I'm happy to talk about worries too. I don't want Theresa to be. I'm not here to be fun gala girl. Well, Theresa gets to say all the worries. But anyway.
Well, Meghan, what are your worries? What are you
No,
worried?
no. Please, Theresa, take the stage, take the mic. I'm just saying.
I mean, I could do a whole hour on my worry. I could do a weekly show on my worries.
Take it away.
But yeah, I mean, our worries are similar to many other people's, and also unique to our situation. One major thing, like I mentioned, is that like I just took over January 1st, and I was working really hard to get the space out of debt and um, build an infrastructure that would support it existing longer, and support the people that are making it possible. Um, I think constantly about my main collaborator in life, Ryan, is having a baby in August. And I take that very seriously. Um, so it's stressful. Um, so I was
That's
trying to build that up, and now it's like all of that work put us in a position where now I can like try to deal with it. But yeah, I mean, we're not secure. We don't have money. If we don't, but we're doing all the things that we can do. I wrote an insurance claim that got accepted. First insurance claim I've ever written. That can be my new job when in the future. Um, and we're applying for all of the grants and things as quickly as we can, and being responsible with that as well, and making sure that we're reading everything, because I have no desire to increase our debt right now, because then if we do get to open, what will even be the point? We'll have so much debt that we can never ever pay it off. So we're doing all the things that we can. And I mean, historically people have called me allergic to money, and that's fair. If I get it, I give it away. And I can't do a fundraiser when my friends are
Yeah,
not
sure.
healthy, I can't do it, and that's just me personally. So we have like contingency plans, we have things that we're trying to do. But if we have to wait until like March 2021 to do programming, I honestly don't know if we'll make it.
Right.
I mean, I think that it's important, if anyone's out there listening, that, this is a really important space, the brick, and it was a very exciting thing that Theresa was just taking it over. There's not so many places left that emerging artists have to make work. And the kind of work that's been coming out of the brick, particularly under Theresa's influence, is really, it's part of the cultural ecosystem of the city. And when we have, people are seeing these, even something like Shetler, right? When we see these things, or frankly, UCB, I mean, and I know that they were having trouble, but that gave me that scared me, because we of course do a lot of improv. So, I mean, I think these smaller spaces, there's organizations like Indie Space that are trying to keep us on the map. But it is, it's important that our smaller size organizations are part of the conversation, about where support can come from once things get moving again. This is a theater town, but it's not just a theater town because Broadway is here.
No, exactly. I mean, theater is just so much in New York. Theater is just so much more than Broadway, and I don't know where people think those people come from who go to Broadway. They come from off Broadway and off Broadway, and they're starting out downtown or in Brooklyn, for that matter. Well, I don't. First of all, the brick's not going anywhere. That's not going to happen. We're not going to let that happen. And a lot of people in Brooklyn are just not going to let that happen. But we're going to talk offline, Theresa, about that too. Moe, I want to turn to you. What is Target Margin thinking about and worried about? And as I asked that, I think it might be 7 o'clock because I'm starting to hear people cheer outside, which if you're not in New York, that means people are cheering for their first responders, which I read something on Facebook where somebody from Germany said, we just fund our first responders. We don't have to cheer for them. But that's another topic. Moe, what is Target Margin and the Doxy thinking about and worried about?
Wow. I mean, I think worrying about very similar things. I mean, money, obviously. I think that's one thing. We're such a, the calls in industry is interesting. I think most of the thing that we negotiate is our time with each other. But without money, without funding, this doesn't really work. And for me personally, I'm not talking necessarily about ticket sales because we don't really make that much in ticket sales. We're not supporting ourselves in ticket sales in that kind of way, but institutional funding for sure. And I think we were thankful and lucky to have had our gala before all of this. And so we do that. We're in that game where we have an annual gala that really helps build up individual funding. And that happened on March 2nd, which seems like a lifetime ago, but it felt like the precipice of something. And
you just made it.
Just made it. Yeah, just made it. So at the moment we are able to, keep our staff on, which was a small staff anyways, through their end of the fiscal year and hopefully beyond that. But I think a lot larger, thinking about sort of like, what are we worried about? Kind of like a loss of our community and the culture that we've built over to call it a career as well, our careers in this city. And again, people are the thing that we work with, I think all of us. And to think about people leaving, to think of like particular shows or productions not happening, or what's where to think about like all of the great work is, which we're saying eventually, rises up, that not rising up, the cream not rising to the top, that it just doesn't. And that's what we have to deal with. It's kind of scary. The health of our community as well. Like most of us are freelancers. If we're lucky enough to even have a full-time job, it's certainly not a living wage most of the time. So we don't have that great access to healthcare. Like just all of these, we've built a house of cards, we've built like this, we're really coming to terms with the fact that I think we haven't been taking care of ourselves or valuing each other or our worth fully as artists. It's a profession, it's legitimate, deserves to be seen that way. So that's a lot of the a lot of the stuff in there, I think Theresa and Meghan are two of like the hardest working people I've ever met. Like I can't even believe like the amount of work that each of these spaces like produces is just insane. And then they like make their own amazing work at it. Like it's just crazy. It really is. That can't go away. I feel like, it seems like, well, will it to happen? That seems kind of preposterous because of all of the things. But I'm like, will we? We will. Will like will we? Like we will. Like every conversation like this, I leave like we will. And then I hit that microclimate on Mount Picamous, and I'm like all turned around. But then I think we will.
Right. I mean, for anybody that missed that, what Meghan mentioned, Shetler Studio announced last week that they were closing, and also the Secret Theater in Long Island City announced that they were closing too. I think, correct me if I'm wrong though, I think they're a unique case where they're not a 501c3. I think they're like a for-profit theater. Not that makes it any better or worse, but they just may be in a different financial situation than some of the nonprofits. But Theresa, you mentioned you didn't think the Brick could survive if we had to wait till 2021 to perform. And that leads me into I guess maybe the final question we'll talk about is, do you think that's going to be when the Brick reopens? I've always sort of had it in my mind that we would open maybe in a slower way than the way we closed, which is maybe 50 or fewer people could gather. I think it was 500 when Broadway closed. I'm wondering, Theresa, if you think that's what it's going to be, or how do you envision what reopening is going to look like in a safe way for the audiences and the performers?
Yeah, I'm thinking about that a lot. I mean, when we initially had to shut things down, like we left the set and all of the props and costumes of the Million Underscores in the space because we were like, yeah, when Broadway reopens on April 14th, we had to cancel our other April shows because they, you know, it was sort of that decision of like, well, let's just push those back, you know. So we were like, yeah, so we'll open in April, and like, you know, we won't have the programming that we had planned on, so we'll just continue the million underscores. So that's how rapidly like things are changing every day, and yet also like solid information is just like, I sometimes I have dreams of solid information, and then I wake up and I'm like, no. It's a new kind of nightmare. They used to all just be like growing up in the Christian church nightmares, but now it's like pandemic nightmares. But yeah, so we're sort of looking at what other spaces are doing. I think that responsibly, those who can afford to shut down throughout the rest of this year should. Because, you know, like the greatest regret I would ever have in my life is that if somebody came to the Brick and got COVID and died, like that's not something that I'm at all willing to live with, you know. I don't think that I could. And so I'd want to do something. Usually I love to just like barge through and lead the way with shit, but not in this situation. I want to see how other places open back up in New York and across the world. I want to see what is working and what's not working. And then I want to be able to have the capacity to do those things. If I have to build like 25 plexiglass cages in the Brick, then I'll do it. If that would definitely work, and people would be okay, like, and then it would be so ableist, because if you're claustrophobic, then like, you know, you'd have an issue. But yeah, I also worry about, like, I have friends that cough not because they're sick, because they have respiratory illnesses. And just the idea too of somebody being in an audience and coughing, and then having people be scared or upset or triggered or any of those things. So those are all things that I'm considering. And if things do happen in a way where we could open on a smaller scale, I would love to. I have so many ideas of what we could do in this space. And we have our year programmed through December. Of course, everyone is wanting to push back or have that conversation, which I'm doing every day. But I could program an entire year today by myself if I wanted to. Like, I have no worry about figuring out what to do in space with people and artists. But it's just, can we do it responsibly? So yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing is, I wouldn't do it if I felt at all like I was putting anyone at risk.
Right. Mo, what about you on target margin? What are you thinking about for the rest of the year? Thoughts about reopening?
Yeah, there's just so much uncertainty. I think we've sort of just given ourselves to, we'll have the thought experiment and we think it's worth doing. Like, oh, if September, if October, if the fall, if January, if ever, if whatever. And it seems, from just like talking to friends and peers and also just using my own sort of like, how do I feel? I mean, honestly, like, I'm not getting in any space anytime soon. I feel freaked out. I don't want to ask that of anyone just so I can put on a show. Doesn't mean anything or matter. Not to go there, but you know what I mean? I'm just like,
let's not go that far.
In the scheme of things, yeah.
I'm just, yes, I mean, like, exactly. I mean, to put feeling like to Theresa's point, which is to put someone in a situation that could potentially be dangerous. So fall is optimistic, I think. That's like the most optimistic kind of projection. I think, January 1st is still pretty optimistic, but we're just sort of taking it day by day, and also just understanding that, we're really not in control of it. I think it's just for us to say something will happen just feels so out of touch with what we've learned so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of what ifs, right? I mean, if there's a vaccine in 6 weeks, it's a different story. Megan, do you feel the same way?
Well, I mean, yes, of course. I mean, we're not going to rush into the theater prematurely. I think I've kind of been thinking about kind of three different things. One is I think that small cultural organizations and restaurants are going to need this, everything. But for us, if a funder was going to, for instance, create something that would be useful that wasn't just cash, some sort of public health audit of your space, in order to create a plan that could allow for social distancing. And that would, I mean, of course, there's going to be costs to that, outfitting your space, cleaning protocols, changing your company's work schedule. We're going to have to think. I mean, the theater is a dirty little business. We only care about what's in front of what's downstage, and now we have to rethink about all of it, and how artists are backstage to create a scenario where the actors can be safe, the whole company. So in the event we can start thinking about reoccupying our space, which of course is a government decision that none of us are personally making, smaller arts organizations are going to need someone to audit our space, to create a plan for us so that we can serve our public. And that's something that a bunch of organizations could use, a company to do that with all of us, So I'm thinking about three things. One, we have this thing called Cyber Tank now. It just happened because we had artists that were wanting it to happen. And now it was an opportunity exactly to think about what are the ableist assumptions we're making about how performance needs to happen. And does it require you to physically go there? And now I'm really interested in continuing to try to create a space where I'm seeing theater artists respond to this space. That doesn't mean just a reading, because I understand all the pitfalls of live performance documented and all of that. I mean, I had to take theory class in grad school, and then also I used to work at Three-Legged Dog. That's all we talked about all day long. But now this is the opportunity we have to give artists, right? This is the space I have right today. And my mission is to serve artists. So this is the space that I'm interested in, curious about how they can use their mind, which is live and holistic, and thinking about a whole space, and think about this camera differently than somebody who's thinking in film. They're thinking about how they can occupy it. And I'm already seeing that work through the artists that are making exciting work. So we're going to continue Cyber Tank. We're figuring out how we can monetize it in some way to start getting more revenue to artists. Right now we put the artist Venmo handle up and, ask for donations. But, think about could we do this as a rental, or, we're talking about all that. So Cyber Tank will continue even when we open. It's just going to be something that we keep doing. It's just another opportunity to get the artists, have more people see their work. And then thinking about the physical space, thinking about if we are going to open, how that would safely happen. I'm in an event that I get into my space, I'm assuming that I'm not going to be able to sell more than a third of the house, because I'm going to have to, there's not going to be able to be a full house. So thinking about that, and of course, like Mo was saying, we have no idea. We're just all waiting. So we're waiting. And then I'm thinking, I'm starting to ruminate about something that the working title is Open Air Tank, but how we, as kind of nimble, small arts organizations that work with artists who can put things together relatively quickly, as opposed to larger institutions, how we might, when the opportunity was available and the city was allowing small gatherings, how we might do site-specific work in open spaces that allows for social distancing for small audiences. So how we can start to get our artists' work continue to be seen, but in a different way than we have. So we're thinking about all those three things as we think about the next year. And again, there's no go date. We're not planning anything yet because we can't, these are all our big ideas. But it's a waste to plan, as we've said, because it's all in flux and we don't know. But there might, again, I don't know what's going to happen, but there might be the opportunity for smaller things to happen that smaller organizations like us could make happen in a timeline that isn't what a Lincoln Center or a Times Square Arts or other larger organization, how long it would take them to do something. So anywho, that's what I'm thinking about.
That's all really good stuff, though. I mean, I'm seeing these pandemic theater sketches online, and unfortunately for us in New York, that a lot of them involve cars. So
yeah.
Like drive-in theaters and stuff like that, which is sort of off the table here. Well, that's a lot to think about. And I thank you guys so much for doing this today. It was so great to see you guys. I love all of you people so much. And I look forward to the day where in the same room and not the same Zoom.
Listen, let's leave this on a nice note, okay? Teresa's not going anywhere. Teresa's not going anywhere. Okay? This is New York City. I've got your back no matter what happens, Theresa.
We all do.
Yes.
And the other thing is, just think about the next time you get to sit in a theater and watch someone on stage touch somebody's face. It's gonna fuck you up. And that's, and you're gonna think about what we do and what we make in a whole different way. And we're gonna value together like we never did. So this is a terrible time, but we're all gonna be here or somewhere else, but we're still gonna be doing what we do. And we just gotta take care of one another and just take it one step at a time, Anyway, but I got your back, Theresa. Okay.
Yeah.
I got your backs too, and I'm not going anywhere. Yeah, but yeah, you guys rule.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm gonna sign off now. I want to thank everybody out there for watching. La Mama has programming a lot. Tomorrow at 4 o'clock, we have La Mama Kids Online. There's no downtown variety this week, so that Culture Hub and La Mama can bring experiments in digital storytelling on Saturday, which is at 1 and at 6 p.m. And then things are back to normal next week. And on Tuesday, Cafe La Mama Live is going to have Karen Finley and George Emilio Sanchez. So yeah, that's probably going to be pretty wild.
So I'm coming to that one. Just saying that now.
Tuesday at 7 p.m. Mark your calendars. And thanks again for watching, everybody. If you want to donate, text La Mama Live to 44321 or just go to the website. But donate to the Brick and donate to the Tank and donate to Target Margin Theater and donate to all of these great people who everybody's really stressed right now. Be safe, be well. Thank you.